Good morning and welcome to the foothills of the San Bernardino National Forest. I'm Kyle Bradshaw and today I want to talk to you about the differences between two of my favorite dual sport tires. Back behind me here I have the Dunlop Rally Raid 908RR. Phenomenal tire. And over here in front of me I've got the Motoz Desert H. Now this story goes way back to 2010 when I picked up this 950 Super Enduro. Back then I was running the Dunlop 908 Rally Raid because it was the best tire I could put on this machine. It gave me the best hookup in every situation. It was DOT rated. I could run this thing 100 miles an hour down the highway. I could jump off onto some single track. It absolutely performed extremely well. Now, this tire only had one competitor back then, and that was the TKC80. It was the only other tire really that fit this bike that didn't just melt off the back end of it. So, the TKC80 and the 908 Rally Raid. I'll go into that in a different video, but basically the TKC80 would be more of a 50-50 tire, and that 908 Rally Raid is going to be more of a mostly dirt tire that can also perform on the road. Now I rode that tire for about 4 years before my friend Brian over at Motoz, introduced me to the Tractionator Desert HT. Now, what happened then is they only had it in a 140. Today I've got it in a 150, so we have apples and apples. We got a 150, 70, 18 for both of these tires here. Now, he's like, hey, look, this is an inexpensive tire. I'm gonna give it to you, and I think it's gonna blow your mind. So I took it out, and I ended up getting over 4,000 miles on the first set that I got from Brian. Completely mind blown. As the Dunlop Rally Raid, I was getting about 2,000 miles, 2,200 maybe tops, if I was doing a little bit more street riding and a little bit less hardcore off-roading. Now for a guy who is... Now at that time, I was going out and hammering 3-day weekends. On Friday I'd leave work and I would just ride all until it got dark, and then I'd find a place to sleep. We'd then be there near the Yosemite Mountains, or the mountains near Yosemite National Park, and we do all kinds of single track and fire rows and just super amazing trails. Spent a lot of time up in the Tahoe National Forest, and that is where these tires really performed. I was able to leave the Bay Area of California, ride up to Tahoe, just in the nighttime there, and then for 2 days be able to hammer trails and then get back home. Being able to get nearly double the mileage out of the Motoz tires that I got out of the Dunlops was a huge savings for me. Now, tires have changed, they've evolved. Now these 150s are a tubeless tire. You can also run a tube, which I will be doing here on the 950, and the Dunlop Rally Raid 908 is a tube type tire, so please keep that in mind. Now if you want to step down to the 140, it's actually the same size as this Dunlop 150, and that is a tube type tire. This depends on the type of bike you're riding and what you want to do with it. Now the reason these tires do get more mileage is the rubber compound on this tire is a little bit harder. The durometer reading is about 5 points higher on the Motoz than it is on that of the 908 Rally Raid. Now the other thing you're going to notice is the width of the Tractionator is significantly wider than that of the Rally Raid, even though it is the same tire size. And then tread depth, we're looking at 13/16 of an inch versus 9/16 of an inch. Let me show you a little bit about that here real fast. Let me grab these two tires and come over to you. So let me see, make sure we got both going the same direction. So now what you're gonna, let me come over here, get out of the shadows. So what we have here is you can see that the overall profile of this tire sits higher than that of the Desert HT, and the Desert HT is significantly wider than that of the 908 Rally Raid. The other thing you're gonna see is, like I said, the tread depth, we have 9/16 versus 13/16. That's really gonna help you with that longevity, the amount of miles that you're gonna get out of the tire. Now, back when Dunlop released the Rally Raid, this connecting block here was really the only one on the market that did that. Everyone else was running just a solid separate block. Now Motoz has done the same thing. You see this guy is tied in here. That really allows you to have stability when you get into corners and get these things leaned over. That's another thing I'm gonna say is this Rally Raid tire, when I had it on the bike, man, it just rails on the street. Now the Motoz rails on the street as well, but it is a little bit flatter of a profile, so you do have to push the bike in just a little bit more. Now that we talked a little bit about the rear tires, let's go ahead and take a look at the front. Now when going with the 908 Rally Raid, I was running this tire right here, and I found it to be a little bit more dirt oriented than I wanted, so I ended up running the 606, and that's the combination that we have here today. The 606 front is going to be closer to that of the Desert HT, which is going to look like this right here. Now the Desert HT, forward, there we go, same direction. So the thing you're going to notice here is we have much more separation between the blocks here on the Rally Raid front. We have larger, more square blocks that actually come down and kind of flare out here at the bottom. That gives you much more stability when that block hits the carcass. Now if you take a look at the Desert HT front tire here, you're going to notice that the solid, or the blocks here in the center, are actually one really large solid block with a split down the center. That split down the center is going to make it act like a dual block, but it's going to give it the stability of a large single block. And then we have a secondary row here, and then over here on the side we've got some smaller lugs that are good for biting in. Overall general construction, we have more rubber on the ground here on the Desert HT than we have on either of these two tires from Dunlop. So it's going to be interesting to see how these tires perform, especially in the aggressive off-road, and how much less traction we have, if we have any, on the Desert HT than we have on these others. Again, these tires were all made for rally type riding. So the idea behind the rally type riding is you want to be able to have a tire that is aggressive, that is puncture resistant, that lasts a long time, and that gets you through everything you need to get to when you're riding hard off-road, and still allows you to be able to hammer twisties and get down those paved sections when you need to. Now, one other thing I want to note is the actual weight of these tires. The rear 908 Rally Raid weighs in at 10 pounds. The front tire weighs in at 10 pounds, the 606 weighs in at 9 pounds, and this rear weighs in at 16 pounds. When we move over to the Desert HTs, they are significantly more heavy. We have 20 pounds for the rear, and we have 11 pounds for the front. So it'll also be interesting to see if the weight plays a difference in how these tires feel and react while on the motorcycle. So later on this week, I'm mounting up, oh look at that, I switched them up. That's not good. So later this week, I'm going to be mounting the Rally Raids up to this bike. I'm going to be using these tires on the charity ride that I'm going on this weekend. Dual Enduro is going to be putting on, Broken Enduro is going to be putting on a charity ride. It's going to be a ride that promotes or supports the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, and we're going to be riding with them this weekend. So I'm going to have these tires, the 908 Rally Raids, on the 950 here. And then Travis Brock from Every Single Sunday, he's going to have his new T7 out there with the 908s on as well. So we'll be able to feel what the KTM and that Yamaha feel like with the tires, and be able to come back and give you a great review. Now, over the next couple weeks, I'll be putting these tires through the same exact tire test I've put all the tires through. We'll start off with the sand wash. We're going to come up here to the mountains, do some hill climbs, some gravel roads, some deep sand. We're going to be able to tell you exactly how these tires feel. I'm going to take you along the ride for the ride so you can see and hopefully feel by watching the video just exactly how they're performing. Again, once I get these off and get a bunch of miles put on them, we're going to throw the Motoz Tractionator Desert HTs on and give you a real side-by-side comparison so you can make a good decision when choosing which one of these two badass dual sport tires to put on your heavy adventure bike. Now, that's one thing that Dunlop was saying when I was on the phone with them, is they really are starting to bring this guy back. Now, this thing was super, super expensive in the past. It was made in France. They're talking about potentially bringing that production to the US. That's yet to be determined. But currently it's in the 150, and then the 90-90-21 front are the two sizes that they have available at the moment. But they're talking about extending this tire through the adventure tire size line. That would be phenomenal. Anyway, Dunlop 908 Rally Raid and the Motoz Tractionator Desert HT. If you're curious about how these tires perform, please hit that subscribe button, notification bell, so you can be notified when those videos are released and uploaded. Until next time, take care and ride safe out there.